I'm going to see for a moment how effective I can go into the woods from here, find a spot where I can kind of hide my footsteps going in, and see how effective it is. Let me see. This spot looks like would be good. I'm gonna hop somewhere in here, and then there's these little dips that are kind of hidden behind little grass, the brown grass. So I'm gonna have to find a way. This is an experiment. I might come back to this area and camp. Now tonight we're supposed to, okay, so there is a stick. So that should be pretty good. Alright, so far I'm on these sticks. I think I want to step right behind there. If somebody was walking by, then it would be camouflaged. So, there we go. See that? Camouflaged. Stealth. Alright, now maybe right there will be another good spot. And I can go. Now I could carry a staff with me too and kind of knock some of the snow back into my footstep. There we go. I'm going right there. See that? So I want to get into the woods and prevent anybody who might be on this trail from seeing my footsteps, my footprints in the snow. This is just an experiment, but you see, I was able to I picked this spot out because strategically it looked like it was possible. And look at that, you can't even see it. Okay, so I'm gonna step on these little knolls of grass or whatever that's called. And let me see, where's the next good spot? How about right here, but I'll put my heel down. Oh, see how my heel's in? I don't want to put a full print. And then I'm probably gonna go over there, and then that'll be hidden. Oh, okay. And then there. Now, at one point, I got to get into the woods. Okay, so how about I follow this? This might keep my foot above the snow. Now, this would be pretty hard to do with a 50-pound backpack on. That's something to consider, but it's practice. So landowners can be real pricks, It's like, I can see during hunting season that, all right, now over here, should be getting, all right, now I'm gonna kind of put my heel down, but on the other side of this tree. Then I go on the other side of this. Okay. And then where do I go from here? I think over here. Because remember, people will see from over there. And once I get in deep enough, and I keep going behind these trees, keep my heel in. See how the heel up? And then I kind of get stable over here. Okay, now I got to find a spot to get into the woods. And I think at this point I should be deep enough in. If I take a nice, deep, long step, I could probably get into this place. And okay. All right, now that isn't good, but I could kind of knock that over a little bit. And from 20 feet away, should be good. And then get on the other side of this stuff, and in here, I don't think they'll see me now. All right, that's kind of cool, huh? Just a little game I'm playing with myself. Well, all right. Now, could I set up a camp here? And you got to take into account that I hope it's how thin is this ice? All right, this looks pretty good. All right, all right, I did it. Okay, and somewhere in here, What I would do if I was going to set up a camp is find a level ground and a place with as much natural camouflage as possible. And then I would start to get rid of this snow with my feet. Get it right down to the leaves. And then get it just sort of like that. And I would look underneath real thick pine boughs that might have blocked the snowfall and grab any kind of dry brown leaves that I could. And this might take a while. And I'd start filling this out. And then I would go and get some pine boughs. If I didn't have cardboard, if I had 2 or 3 layers of cardboard, that would be fine. But if I didn't have that and I was just coming in here to stealth camp, one, I'd make sure that those footsteps weren't noticed, which I think I did a pretty good job. But now that I'm in here, okay, you see that? I'd take my little folding saw and I would start cutting those pine boughs. And look at all that, those brown leaves underneath that. See? Dry as a bone. The ground is definitely wet. Plus you got any of those brown weeds that are still sticking through the snow. That can be really good for a bedding. So you got this. And you want to make sure the cut ends are out, because there can be some sap that comes through and it'll get to the bottom of your tent. And you want to put your tent on top of it. So, and then, yeah, it should be good, you know. In the woods of western PA, Elk County. One of the main arteries of Noah Road, stealth camping, stomping grounds, just having a good time walking around. So I'm going to try to avoid detection if I can, but I mean, I don't want to go through crazy work, but like I'm going to choose the places where I set my feet as wise as I can. So here I'm going to put sometimes the heel, just walking with the heel from a distance, you know, where there might be a main trail or somebody with a four-wheeler might come through, they wouldn't see it. Or behind this, how it's like here, right there is the other trail. So I'm going to put right here, and somebody going by wouldn't notice it because it's tucked behind this thing. And then right here, that's a bare spot. Right here, these type of things too. You can use your folding saw if you have one, which I recommend. And you can use that for bedding too. All right, now I'm going in with the heel, and then I'm gonna kind of like go heel. You see how all of these are deer tracks. I'm gonna go heel, and my heel will, when it melts just a tiny bit, or if there's a little bit of dusting of snow at night, it'll blend in pretty easy. See, look at that. I'm only walking with the heel. And I'm walking right in the mix of the deer footprint. And that isn't good, like right here. But you could also get a nice pine bough from, let's say, a white pine, and you can go behind where you walked and use that to kind of, you brush it and make it look more natural. And even if it's not perfect, the second there's a dusting of snow, it won't show your footprint. It'll look, you know, like something like animal or something. Now I'm going to walk over to that main trail and check how it looks to see if I was successful at disguising my footsteps or footprints. How do I hide them if I really needed to? In the winter time, these pine boughs also, they break off really easy. But you see, you can take a pine bow and just kind of crack it off there, and then you can kind of sweep that spot where you stepped. That's one. You can't totally eliminate it, but you can at least get a good start into the woods. Once you get into the woods, you know. Now, here we go, some more deer footprints. I'm going to try to kind of start hiding because I'm getting... Alright. Right there should be hidden. How about right behind this tree? And then right here. See, that's all some brown weeds of some kind. Another one right here. I'm just up at the tip of my foot. Almost like a ballerina. Yeah, not quite. All right, now I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go, and then I'm going to go there. Okay. All right, that's not super perfect, but here is the spot that I was mostly concerned with. Let's see how this looks. Let's see if I was able to do it. If somebody was riding their four-wheeler by, or like I'm doing right now, walking, would it catch the eye? Would you be able to see it? Here is where I went in. Okay. Oh, look at that. Clean. I can't see nothing. Look at that. I did it. I know I went in here, there, and then I started stepping behind these, but you can't see it. Look at it. It's clean. And I think I went all the way over to here before I started to make my way in. And I kept going behind, you know, natural fallen limbs and natural little bundles of those brown weeds. Look at that. I can't see anything. Look at it. That's where I went in. See, it can be done. You just got to be clever. You got to be a little bit in shape. Obviously, if you know, are barely walking because you've had injuries and stuff, that is, you know, something more unfortunate. I mean, that's why I try to keep at the gym, so I can do things like that. There's a nice tree, nice little pine that's standing out there. You can break off a couple of them. Now, I wouldn't, if I was going to use some of those for camouflage for my camp somewhere else, or if I was going to use them for a bedding, I would make sure that I didn't take them from the view of the main trail. I would go from behind. Everything, you know, hidden and stealth. And so, yeah, you kick everything out down to the ground, and it's still going to be wet. So if you just lay the bedroll out, you'd be kind of screwed. So you've got to build up, once you get into the woods, once you get a campsite like that, you've got to get rid of all that snow, and then you've got to start building up your camp. If you've got 3 layers of cardboard, fine. But I have a 50-pound pack. I'm not going to have the luxury of carrying 3 5-foot long or whatever layers of cardboard out with me on top of the equipment I got to get here. So I'm going to have to build up a natural bedding. Now look at all of those leaves underneath that pine. I've used those many times. There has been times when it's in the deep freeze in the wintertime, I have pulled them into my tent with me. That would only be in the winter though, because there could be bugs in the summer on them, and you don't want to have that problem. But yeah, look at how thick this is. You can cut those off. Now these are kind of prickly, and let's say as an example, see, they break off pretty easy in the winter. But you want to, if you ever use it for a bedding, make sure you have them going out this way, not in, because there can be sap out, and then it'll get on your sleeping bag or get on the bottom of your tent, and then you roll it up and it dries and it's like glue, and it can be nasty. Well, I'll tell you, that smells good. Now, if you want a natural remedy for a cold, now this is not medical advice, okay? I'm just saying it is like a fruit is healthy, good food is healthy. I'm saying that this can be healthy. I have used this as in tea. There is spruce tea, and it has high vitamin C, more so than an orange, so that's all I'll say. And I think the sappiness in the in the branch itself, I boiled it for, I'd say, 10 minutes. Not like crazy wild boil, but get it up to a simmer. And just, I let it go for 10 minutes. It draws the sap out of it, and there is a lot of vitamin C in it. And I noticed that when I did this is not medical advice. This is just what I do, okay? But when I drank it, it would seem to stick to like a little phlegm. And the vitamin C would kind of give me a boost of health. I would drink maybe 2 cups of that a day. And sometimes I put staghorn sumac in it, because this time of year they still have some. There is none, I would show you, unfortunately, but oh, it's sweet. It's a natural sweetener. So I used staghorn sumac as a sweetener, and I would use this. I mean, honest to goodness, if I had a place to cook, I would have no problem making a tea out of that right now, especially if I had some staghorn. Ooh, there is some. I'm going to show you the staghorn sumac. Remember, it's not medical advice. I'm not claiming anything. It's just something that I have done, and I've had personal results. It's not medical advice. All right. I mean, I see a staghorn. I hope they're still sweet. Yeah. Now, if this creek was a little lower, I could just go down and walk through the creek, or if I had some kind of waders on, and that would stash my footprints until I got off into the woods. Okay, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Spruce pine and staghorn. And I'm gonna grab myself one of a little bit of these. These are like little, and I don't know if they're past their date, but let me taste. They're not to eat. They just have a sweetness to them. They're kind of like a sugar. Yeah, they're a little past. They're about a month past. There might be a bundle that's a little bit better than others, but I have made tea with that and never had a problem with it. And I noticed personally, it's just my own thing that I do. Let me see. There's still a little sweetness to it. Yeah, if you ever get into a bind and there really isn't anything, look at how nice it is, underneath these pine trees. Now, if this pine tree was in the woods, I would probably take my saw and I would hack a couple of these things out, and then I would kind of build up a bedding, and I'd set the thing up right here after getting rid of this kind of stuff and getting rid of some of those branches, getting some of this stuff out of the way, make it really smooth, build up a bedding, and yeah, that'd be a good spot. But the location of this is no good. There are spots like this in the woods, and it's got such a natural, it conforms really well to the natural contours of the forest and stuff. It offers a lot of natural camouflage even in the winter. That's just an example of what you might find in the woods. The thing is, it's just getting into the woods without leaving these awful footprints. Well, anyways, and getting out again, of course. See those tall weeds and stuff coming through? Those things are really good for a bedding. Especially if you got like I always carry those folding saws in the garden section. I've said it before in my videos. I always go to the garden section rather than the camping section. Like, you get the Coleman folding saw. I've never had too much luck with them. Like 10 years ago they were stronger, but the last several years I've gotten like a Coleman or something, or one of those, one that's specifically for hiking, camping in the camping aisle of Walmart. You end up using them like this. to hack away branches in front of you, weeds in front of you, and pickers and so forth, and you beat them up pretty good. So what has happened to at least 2 of them, if not maybe 3, they have just the blade just comes off, and you could still tape up the end of the blade, but if you go to the garden section of Walmart, then I've had better luck. They're a little tougher. You know, like I noticed that they seem to be more durable, is what I mean. A little more higher quality. Well, anyways, I'm just kind of taking a walk around, and I'm thinking about what I'm doing. My workout was nice. See, here's another beautiful beautiful little spot underneath that pine. If it wasn't so close to here, if this was out in the woods, I'd hack away some of this stuff and set my tent right up underneath it and blend it right into the contour of the forest. And it would only take a minimal amount of camouflage, you know, going to other parts of the forest and getting more pine boughs and, you know, things like that. See these weeds, those brown weeds there? You never build up this time of year especially. And then there's a lot of water in the ground, you know, during the winter, which is the one good thing about winter. You know, if you've had a drought in the summer. These are some factories. I think these are people that go to work at factories. They must live real close and just walk. It's kind of like some streets. I like it. That's the way it looks. It's kind of cool looking. I could picture this, yeah, maybe in a scene in some kind of a cool movie or something. There's about 2 or 3 blocks of these little factories. They're rinky-dink compared to bigger ones, you know. But yeah, they're still functional. They're open. And people make a living, you know, they can pay their rent, you know. And they got bigger factories just outside of town, and they're pretty cool because, like, the town is cool because in the factories know that not everybody has cars. So they'll take the bus in the morning, and I'm not sure, but I think the factory pays for that. Yeah, they even have, there's a factory called Elcam. Maybe one of these days I'll get a job there, who knows. Get this. It's kind of a cool area. I love the look of it. I would love to have some kind of an apartment that looked like this in an area like that. That would be so cool. It looks like something, you know, like a scene in a movie or something. Like some really cool character would, in a movie, would live up in a place like that. It kind of almost has like a big city, tough streets of a big city look to it, but it's just very, very, you know, small town America. I kind of like it. Lots of people, lots of deep family roots in this area. People, they grew up together, married their high school sweethearts, had kids, and the next generation, they all kind of grow up together, marry their high school sweethearts, and, you know, the moms, the grandparents, and the, you know, younger generation that gets married to their high school sweetheart, third generation, they all kind of know each other. So this town has got those deep family roots in it. Like my friend, the one that drives me around, oftentimes she's, you know, everywhere she goes, she sees somebody that she was in cheerleading with or that she went to high school with. You know, she's always saying hi to somebody that, and that's just kind of how it goes, and everybody knows each other. Deep family roots. And that's probably one of the things that's kept this town from completely falling apart and becoming like hellholes like a lot of other towns have become in more citier type areas, or areas where there's less of that nuclear family element in it. there's more camouflage, and there's a sense of being lost souls, and they gravitate towards addictions or bad behavior, and there really isn't, there's so much camouflage where there isn't those people that, I don't know, nobody's keeping an eye on one another. So that's the difference between this town. Though this town is truly starting to lose that, and probably this might last a little longer, it's still kind of cool. It seems like an older energy here. Like, I feel like almost like a flashback to the late 90s maybe. It doesn't feel like 80s, but it feels like maybe late 90s to me. And I would say that compared to the national average, these people seem to be a lot more honest. Like, if you dropped your wallet, there's always exceptions to the rule, but this is the type of place where the person behind it would say, hey buddy, you dropped that, watch out for it. I noticed a lot of that, more than normal here. I've also noticed a little bit of, shady, kind of people that I wouldn't want to really, but not as much as Du Bois, for instance, and Du Bois isn't even that bad. Well, anyways, from St. Mary's, PA, just a little walkthrough and a walk and talk and a little demonstration and a little practice on my part of going into the woods in snowy weather. Can you do it without leaving a trace of your footprints that would be seen by just a casual passerby? And yeah, you can. It's just hard. And of course, I'm not carrying my 50-pound backpack, so I have to take that. Gosh, what an awful vehicle that is. And so useless. I mean, what is he? That drives me nuts when people drive. Grown men, getting a vehicle like that off the showroom. I mean, if they built it up from scratch in their backyard and they're into hot rods and stuff, I could see. But he bought that, I think. It looks like something. I don't know. Maybe it has been souped up. But it's not very good for travel. I mean, what is he going to do? Travel to California with it? Think it would break down before it got halfway there. And it's expensive. And the insurance is expensive. It's loud and annoying. There's more horsepower than you could even ever use. What is it for? An extension of something below the belt, I would say. Like Nietzsche said, man reaches as far from himself as he can with his consciousness and overtakes that which is weaker. It's one of those kind of people who drive those sorts of things. Obvious exceptions. But anyways, yeah, from St. Mary's, just having a little walkthrough and a little bit of a testing my, now we're supposed to get rain tonight, so some of that snow is going to melt off, but then we're probably going to keep getting dusting on and off. And I'm going to stay one more night, at least that's the plan, in the spot where I'm at. But I'm either going to move out to the woods or I'm going to skedaddle and just start walking and traveling and camping on the fly. And I'll miss this place because of the availability of electricity and the warmth, and there's a couple of friends, and people are nice to me here, even a lady that, has a restaurant. I really like her restaurant, and about half the time she'll say, hey, it's on me. She just likes me. It's very nice. And there's even a restaurant that participates in a voucher program with the wife of the guy from the gym, and you can show up and just order a meal on New Horizons voucher, and they'll give you a meal whatever you order on the menu. I mean, it's pretty cool, isn't it? Obviously it hasn't been abused because it's been going for 6 months probably, or 4 or 5 months, and good people around here. Well, this video is really going on and on. Some people make hour-and-a-half long videos, and they don't seem to have a problem with too many viewers and likes and so forth, but I don't know. I don't think I really got the audience for it. But anyways, it was a lot of fun checking that out and kind of showing what is possible on video, and kind of showing what you got to go through if you're going to remain stealth in weather like this, and what you got to do when you set up camp, clearing it out and building up a bedding and so forth, and getting camouflage because they don't have the foliage on the trees. Not to mention the spruce pine tea for vitamin C, which is not in any way medical advice. It's just what I do. And anyway, so that's it. From one of the towns that I love. I'm surprised I'm still here. I thought I was going to leave a couple of months ago, and for some reason I just keep staying. There is, of course, the Sheetz. When you see a Sheetz, you know you're in Pennsylvania. I mean, they have Sheetz probably in just about any town over 2,000 people, and it's just the center of town, and everybody goes there. And it's a good place to come. It's like, I think the food is a little expensive there, but it's still a lifesaver, because everybody who works there, they don't seem to make a deal unless it's in a bigger city or something. If it's in one of these smaller areas that I would stealth camp in, if I go there, show up, and sit around for 2 hours, as long as I buy a couple of small things, I could charge my phone for 2 hours or whatever. Well, anyways, this here is the resale shop. You can get shirts for $1, pants for $1, sometimes $2. Here is the place where you can get a free lunch if you know, because you got Julia, or New Horizons is nice enough to put money on the their account, and then you go in and you just say this will be on Julia's account or a New Horizons account, and then you can just order what you want. Usually 15, 16 bucks, or 11 or 12 is usually the going price. Between 12 and 18, depending on what you get, is average. And and it's taken care of. Well, it's not the prettiest town in the world, but it's a functional town, a lot of deep family roots, and compared to the national average, the people around here are pretty darn good. And it's a cool area if you know how to manage, if you got a couple of friends, and you haven't burned any bridges or anything. Well, with that said, a little bit of a walk and talk through St. Mary's, PA, Elk County, one of the main arteries of the heart and soul of Noah Road, stealth camping, stomping grounds. I hope the video finds you all well. Hi to all the people that follow me and say hi. Thank you. Likes, subscribe. It probably helps the algorithm. I don't know. It's a little bit of emotional support for yours truly too. Well, anyways, as I said, I'm going to let you go. Over and out for now.